Hello guys, it is me, Josephine, and here I am today to show you my current to-be-read pile. So, as some of you might have known, my parents split up, so I am usually in the weeks with my mother, so I brought all my books I haven't finished to my mom's, while the books I have finished are at my father's. So, I'm going to show you my TBR, and first book I'm going to show you is Futuristic Violence and Fancy Suits. This is by Jason Pargin, who previously went by the pseudonym David Wong, but he finally dropped the pseudonym. So in previous editions of that book, it says the David Wong name. Seems kind of neat. It's more of a sci-fi comedy instead of a horror comedy. Michael Creighton's Jurassic Park. I've seen the movie. I've seen all 6 movies, and Dominion, awful. But I've been told to read this for many years, and I've been told to read Michael Creighton in general. And speaking of Michael Creighton, I got another book of his. I actually got this a couple days ago. This is a hardcover of Rising Sun. I don't know too much about this book. I know it gets a lot of controversy nowadays because of some people say it's quote-unquote racist. It's probably not. It's probably just an overreaction of the times. But maybe, I don't know. We'll have to see. And then, of course, I have the infamous Lost World, which I was told is a terrible book, but I still want to read it, of course. By the way, I have all my books when it comes to authors in release order, unless it's a collection. I'll put the collections order. Timeline. Never read this. I don't even know too much about this. I have some of the more obscure Creighton books, because most people will tell you to read Terminal Man or Andromeda Strain or something like that, but they wouldn't tell you to read Next, which I have here as well. This is the last Creighton I have right here. And then next book on my TBR. It's one I started a while ago, but I haven't finished. This is The Silence of the Lambs. I don't know why the cover is bent back here, but I'll have to fix that. Alright, I'm just going to fix that quickly. Alright. Silence of the Lambs. I've read the first book. It's pretty good. This is the third book. This is Hannibal. Yeah, it seems pretty good. The next book is a Neil Gaiman book. I think this is the second book, Neverwhere. This first book is Good Omens, I think. And, well, if you're not counting The Sandman as a book, but that's a comic. Yeah, so this is Neverwhere. This is his most famous book, probably. One of his most famous books. And then, anyone who's familiar with sci-fi would know Dune, and this is the third book, Children of Dune, that I have to read. You know, classic sci-fi stuff. And then next up is Starship Troopers. I think this is Michael Keller's favorite book, I assume. Yeah, I've never read it, but I definitely plan on reading it. And, of course, Stranger on a Strange Land. Apparently one of the most misogynistic endings of any book, but I heard it's a very good read. The Silmarillion, the Tolkien classic, I have not finished it, because it is a very odd book. It's actually structured like the Bible. Yeah, in like the structure of the way it's told. Not in like, oh, it's all just a reverse of the Bible. No, it's it's kind of like its own Bible of the world. And then, plus, just hold on just 1 second. Okay. Alright. Plus, most people with Tolkien just stop at Lord of the Rings for some ass reason, but, there's Baron and Luthien that I plan on reading as well. Here's a book that I don't even have the first fucking book to, so I can't fucking read this yet, but, The Trench, this is the sequel to The Meg. I heard it's good. They're making the movie next year. Yeah, and I've seen the first movie. It's okay. This is the sequel to one of my favorite books. This is The Fall of Hyperion, which is the sequel to Hyperion. I don't have the third or fourth book, Endymion or The Rise of Endymion, but I do have another Dan Simmons book. It's The Abominable, which is a very thick ass book. This book is bigger than than my appetite. But yeah. Then there's also a Godzilla, just a little Godzilla figurine. Anyways, after that there is Clash of Kings and Sword of Storms and The Feast of Crows and A Dance with Dragons, as well as the other two books, Knight of the Seven Kingdoms and hold on just a minute. I should really stop pulling these out when I have the camera on. And because the video would be longer, but who cares? Fire and Blood, which is an interesting book. Never read it yet. I know part 2 is still coming out. So George can't finish the sequel to this book, and he can't finish the end of this series, but he finishes everything else. So I can't hate on him too hard. But I mean, at least he's not Clive Barker. I guess that's the good thing. I have a copy of Dracula here. I haven't finished. Ghost Story by Peter Straub, Floating Dragon by Peter Straub, Coco by Peter Straub, Magic Terror by Peter Straub, Lost Boy, Lost Girl by Peter Straub, and A Dark Matter by Peter Straub. I haven't actually read any Peter Straub before, but I got all these for quite cheap, and I wanted to read him because he seemed interesting to me. And I also got Neuromancer by William Gibson. This is one of his most famous books, in fact his most famous book. Then for Stephen King I have Firestarter, Different Seasons, The Talisman by Peter Straub as well, Thinner, Skeleton Crew, It, The Dark Half, The Stand, 4 Past Midnight, Needful Things, Nightmares and Dreamscapes, Rose Madder, Desperation, The Regulators, Dreamcatcher, Black House, also by Peter Straub, Sal, Under the Dome, Dr. Sleep, and The Institute. Then after that, there is Scatterbrain by Larry Niven. I don't even know what the fuck this is about, but I got this the other day, and it seemed kind of neat. My friend gave this to me. This is The Broker by John Grisham. I never read any John Grisham, but I hear about him. The Silkworm by J.K. Rowling. That's just her pen name, Robert Galbraith, if none of you know. John Green, The Fault in Our Stars. The Heroes Books are classic. This is the entire Chronicles of Narnia in the chronological order, which I heard is the worst way to read it, so I might read it in published order. Anyways, moving back here. My mother gave me a copy of Lisa Jackson's Paranoid, which I have no idea what the fuck is that about. Then Robert R. McCammon's Mystery Walk, Black Hawk Down by Mark Bowden, The Subtle Knife by Philip Pullman, The Ember Spyglass by Philip Pullman. I read Northern Lights before. I was going to read those before, but I was in a co-read with my buddy Miles, and he wasn't able to finish the book, unfortunately. Which is okay, because if you can't handle the book, then, makes sense. But, after that, I just decided to wait a while to read the sequels. And then, Queen of the Damned, which I haven't read yet. Strangers, The Bad Place, Dinar Kuntz's Shattered Whispers and Watchers. This is actually a rare omnibus. I don't see this too many. Mr. Murder, which has the famous face. False Memory. One Door Away from Heaven, which has Ahab's favorite character of Leilani Clunk, Ashley Bell, and then The Silent Corner I got recently. These are all by Dean Koontz. The Hunt for Red October, Patriot Games, Clear and Present Danger, Sum of All Fears, Rainbow Six, and Power Plays by I Strike, all by or produced by Tom Clancy. I played some of his video games. I heard his books are pretty good books, but I haven't read them before. This 1Q84 by Hiroki Murakami. The Anubis Gates by Tim Powers. Chris Hadfield's An Astronaut's Guide to Life on Earth. Orson Scott Card's Children of the Fleet. I have to read the rest of the series first, but, Agatha Christie, Passenger to Frankfurt. I don't have any other Sherlock Holmes books. I'm never going to read this till I get the other ones, but this is Return of Sherlock Holmes. This is an entire collection of Edgar Allan Poe. And then, Charles Dickens' Great Expectations, The Mammoth Book of Wolfman, which is by Various Office, and Surrender the Dead by John Burley, which I have no idea what the fuck this is about. Someone just gave this to me. And then William Golding's Lord of the Flies, which I've been told is a masterpiece. To Have and Have Not, by Ernest Hemingway, which the beginning of the book was so insane that I had to pause it. There's a lot of action. It seems kind of neat. Then there is Necronomicon I have here to read, and I have the Eldritch Tales. And I bought this recently, this Book of Cthulhu, Book of Cthulhu, Book of Cthulhu has featured tales by the other authors, so people that also wrote for the franchise as well. So this is actually a neat find. There's also a volume 2 I found, so I'm gonna probably get that sometime as a way to read the other stories by the other authors, because there's no other way you can find the other stories in stores. Then there's The Caves of Steel by Isaac Asimov, Asimov's Naked Sun, Foundation's Edge, The Robots of Dawn, Foundation and Earth, Prelude the Foundation, and Forward the Foundation. These are some of the other Robot and Foundation books. I still need to get the last couple Robot books and the last 2 Empire books for the complete Foundation main story. Of course, I'll need Nemesis and Starfall and all those other books. But yeah, The Living Dead by George A. Romero and Daniel Kraus. I read a little bit of this. It seems pretty neat so far. And Magica. This is actually a pretty tough read so far, but I hope I'll read it eventually. The Haunted by Bentley Little. I've never read Bentley Little, but he seems kind of neat. Minority Report and Other Classic Stories with Philip K. Dick. I read You Andrew Stream of Electric Sheep and The Man in the High Castle recently, and some of his other books, and they're pretty good. So Long Thanks for All the Fish, Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agency, and Mostly Harmless by Douglas Adams. He's okay. I'm not a huge fan of him. I'm not wild, oh, it's the greatest ever. I don't think it's the worst either. But I'm just not. I'm indifferent to his work so far. And now we have The Trap by Tabitha King and One-on-One by Tabitha King. These are out of print. Tabitha King, if some of you don't know, is actually the wife of Stephen King. I heard some of her books are actually pretty good, so I decided I'll check them out. Then there's The Perks of Being a Wallflower by Stephen Chbosky, which someone just gave me recently. I've actually read 50 pages of this book before. I actually can't remember jack shit about it. It's like that I remember not liking it, but I'm going to give it another chance, because I remember Ahab said that he liked the movie, and like some of the guy's other movies, and I'm like, I'll give it another chance. Plus, he wrote a horror novel recently, which I'm like, gotta support the horror. Obviously, Sword of Destiny by Andrzej. I don't know how to say his name, Sapkowski. This is the second book in The Witcher, the second canonical book in The Witcher. Because I think this is actually the first published. This was actually published first, and The Last Wish published second, but Last Wish is actually the first one you read. And in North America, the first one published was The Last Wish, but when it was published in Poland, it was Sword of Destiny first, I believe. So then there's Twilight, New Moon, Eclipse, and Breaking Dawn, which I will only ever read these for hilarity. I almost got a copy of Wonder, and then I didn't get it because I'm like, it's probably not very good. And then I realized the movie's directed by Stephen Chbosky, so I'm like, oh shit. But yeah, this is my to-be-read pile. I'm not this copy of Cell is from one of my friends. But yeah, this is my to-be-read pile, and yeah, I'm gonna crack an old can of Coca-Cola, and I'm gonna enjoy my day. I already read too much today, so I'm not gonna read anymore today, but I'm gonna crack the whole can of cola and play some PlayStation 5. Anyway, see you guys later. Josephine out.